For a lot longer than I've been alive, Toyota has been a dominant force in the automotive industry. They've gotten large enough to the point where everyone has an opinion of them, and lately it seems that those opinions have gotten more extreme. There's always going to be a few people that hate the car or brand that's in question when I'm making a video. And that's okay. Many of those folks might have had a bad experience with them. The comment section is here so that everyone can share their perspectives. However, from experience with my own comment sections, I can say that Toyota videos have especially prominent and personal anger. The brand certainly deserves some criticism, and I'll air out my beef with them later. Yet with no other manufacturer have I noticed such a disconnect between online sentiment and sales figures. After posting a Land Cruiser video a couple of days ago, it seems like things have gotten even more polarized. The premise of that video was to correct my previous assertion about the Land Cruiser, the new one. So I thought that when I first drove it, it was good. It's fine. You know, it had the cool swagger, but it didn't quite feel like a Land Cruiser because it, at the core, was a Land Cruiser Prado. It was not going to be as substantial feeling as the full-blown Land Cruiser. It was also much cheaper, but I thought that the Land Cruiser audience wanted a vehicle that took it to the absolute max in every way that it could. It kind of split the difference in a lot of ways between what you would expect with maybe the new 4Runner, which is basically a Tacoma with a long roof, and the old Land Cruiser. That was their way of helping it reach a lower price point, but still not a low price point. I thought for that kind of money, folks would just choose a 4Runner or choose the new Lexus GX, which does feel like you get a little bit more substance for your money. Ultimately ending up with the Land Cruiser becoming that small volume SUV in the Toyota lineup that it's been for quite some time now. But I was wrong. This one has moved more units in 1 quarter than the last generation did in 4 years. No matter what your opinion of the Land Cruiser might be, that is considered a success from a manufacturer's standpoint. And the whole point of that video is to look back and see what were the things that ended up being more valuable to the Land Cruiser customer than I originally anticipated. Seems pretty straightforward, but there have been some pretty angry people in there. Like, just for trying to see the positives in a vehicle, I had someone call me a bootlicker, which I just really found that one hilarious because it just implies that Toyota is the establishment. And to be clear, there's a lot of other people who disagree with me respectfully. There was a few people who thought I was being too harsh on the Land Cruiser's powertrain. I disagree, but we can have that conversation. I think a lot of other folks were let down by the new truck being less upscale and tankish than the full-size Land Cruiser. I might personally still think it's refined enough, but for that kind of money, I get why it sparked some backlash. The Land Cruiser isn't the only Toyota to face the flames. I owned a GR Corolla for a couple of years. I admitted in the last video there that I think I should have purchased a Civic Type R. I got to drive them back to back, and I just ended up preferring the Honda, but that doesn't mean that the Toyota didn't provide a unique experience. The GR Corolla is just a completely mad Corolla. Similar to what the WRX STI used to be, what the Ford Focus RS was. It's a cheap car with all-wheel drive and a small engine with a big turbo. That's fun. That's a fun formula. You can get one for $40,000 in a lot of regions that aren't having markups anymore. I think the problem though is that a lot of the press is fixated on the $48,000 version, which at that money, that's a hard sell to me especially. I just don't think that car felt like it was worth that kind of money. But what I'm trying to get at is that car has a position in the market And it felt like half of the internet lost sight of that over simple flaws. It's not trying to be like the Elantra N, Civic Type R, or Golf R, but that doesn't make it a bad car.
Hey, Cody's just a bum. Cody's this, Cody's that, Cody's this. Cody's me, bro. Let me be me.
Anyway, the Tacoma. Oh, there are valid concerns over using a new-ish turbo engine. And the initial issues some have had with the automatic transmissions raise an eyebrow too. But the reactions to it have still surprised me. Why is there so much negativity for Toyota? Well, I think for several products like the Tacoma and 4Runner, concerns over complexity are one thing, but a lot of people feel betrayed by the price. These things have gotten so damn expensive. You want to buy a mid-trim Toyota Tacoma and you're like, okay, well actually I want a damped tailgate. And now you got to spend mid-40s to get that. Or you want leather with your TRD off-road. Oh yeah, that was 43 grand in 2021 or something. Now it's 53 grand. That is a massive difference. Even if some other grades didn't see that kind of price jump, those are the things that are really going to stick out to people. Add in cars like the GR Corolla with markups. I think markups really pissed in the breakfast of a lot of Toyota fans. And to make matters worse, in 2025, their blunders are going to be much more publicized than they were 20, even just 10 years ago. Look at the new Tundra with the 3.4 liter twin turbo V6. They had that bearing issue, and I think it was due to manufacturing debris. Not every engine was affected, but they did recall every engine. I think it's great that they're standing behind their products like that and just replacing every single one, but it's an awful issue to have nonetheless. And I understand, people being concerned over declining Toyota quality. It's also not unprecedented because I used to own a 2009 Toyota Tacoma, and that had a different issue that personally I think was a whole hell of a lot worse than an engine replacement, because we found out about it down the road. That was frame rot, and that was something that was prevalent for many vehicles, and this was in an era that was sort of glorified for Toyota. People will say that, oh yeah, that Tacoma will run forever, but it doesn't matter if the engine runs forever if the frame rots out underneath it. I'd say that was the worst problem Toyota suffered this century. With all new platforms and powertrains, there are risks no matter the brand. These days, Toyota is building more complex cars to keep up with the times and emissions goals. And I don't doubt that they've cut some material costs under the hood too. These things might leave a small effect on the average long-term ownership experience, but other brands are facing similar challenges. Compared to their foes, I usually find the least damning evidence of widespread failures when I'm researching Toyotas. Consumer Reports consistently places them at or near the top of their reliability rankings too. And not that sales are the most important thing, but Toyota has been at a global all-time level lately, so it seems that demand hasn't dropped off either. After listening to my viewers and driving all Toyota products, here's my piece. Toyota does a good job of appealing to their customers, but they do a better job of finding their financial limit. They see that the Tacoma has big room for improvement, so they fix it. They made it much more competitive and used the opportunity to move up the price point. I'm sure that it was expensive to develop, but they did the same thing with the Tundra, with the 4Runner, the Grand Highlander, and with the Prius. They got rid of the non-hybrid Camry that used to appeal more to the budget-minded. They introduced some sweet, low-volume performance cars that were priced fine, but then many dealers insulted potential buyers with markups. Maybe they wouldn't add all that many sales on a global scale through prioritizing price, but they would have less enemies. There would be less people online who feel like Toyota, the largest manufacturer in the world, is ignoring their needs. That's how I see it, at least. I could probably keep rambling, but I'm curious what you guys think, so let's chat it up below. Thanks for watching, and thank you to my channel members who have helped me improve my content. Consider joining for additional videos. I'll catch you in the next one.